While President Donald Trump is loudly threatening the world with tariffs, sanctions, and penalties, another bloc, BRICS, is quietly stepping into the vacuum. From New Delhi to Beijing and Moscow, from Brasilia to Johannesburg, a new power center is rising, one that does not flinch at every tantrum Donald Trump throws its way, a bloc that does not rely on the West to write the rules anymore. And it's not just some people within BRICS dreaming this up. The US president is himself acutely aware of this.
They have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS, because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard.
So how did we get here? Why are BRICS nations now being seen as the counterweight to American power? Donald Trump may have accidentally accelerated the start of a new world order, and we explain how. Trump has turned US foreign policy into a reality show, starring himself. There is no consistency, no doctrine, just one rule. Praise him, you're safe. Challenge him, you'll pay. India gets 25% tariff for refusing to give credit to Trump for brokering the ceasefire with Pakistan. Brazil gets slapped with 50% because its left-leaning leader jailed Trump's buddy, Jair Bolsonaro. Even Putin, once Donald Trump's friend, is now branded an obstacle. On the other hand, there's Pakistan. The US spent years accusing Pakistan of harboring terrorists, even chased out Osama bin Laden from his hideout in the country. But cut to 2025, Pakistani Army Chief Asim Munir nominates Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, and suddenly Trump's narrative flips. Terror sponsor Pakistan overnight gets huge American investment for its quote-unquote massive oil reserves. Never mind that no one really knows where these oil reserves in Pakistan are. This isn't diplomacy or global trade or even geopolitics, just Trumpian ego at play. Let's just say it. Donald Trump is the schoolyard bully of global diplomacy. He insults leaders, slaps tariffs, threatens sanctions, and somehow he gets away with it. But why? Because no one is really pushing back. Barring a rare outburst from Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, who publicly snapped at Trump during a joint press conference at the White House, most Western nations are either silent or surrendering. Case in point, the European Union and Japan just rolled over and signed on to Trump's latest tariff deal, agreeing to zero import duties to avoid more confrontation. That's not resistance, that's resignation. Trump knows he's holding the biggest stick. The US under Trump is still the world's $29 trillion behemoth. China, not even close, somewhere between $16 and $17 trillion. And let's not forget, no one outguns the American military. That combo, economic firepower and military dominance, has long allowed the US to bend global rules, silence critics, dictate terms. So when Trump decides to bully, the world listens, or at least stays quiet. But here's the twist. The world is shifting under Trump's feet. In the last 2 decades, American dominance has been quietly eroding. While Washington got comfortable, China went to work. Beijing leveraged globalization, multiplied its economy, pivoted to electric vehicles early, and cornered over 90% of global green mineral processing. So now, the world depends on China for the stuff needed to power EVs, batteries, clean tech. By the time the US woke up, China already had the keys to the green economy. Geopolitically, Trump inherited a shaky world in his second term. The Ukraine war was in its third year, Middle East was up in flames, Russia and China were getting cozier, Beijing was openly challenging American tech supremacy, and the global South wanted its rightful place in the world pecking order. In this already shaky scenario, Trump unleashed his trademark chaos with his America First pledge, steep tariffs, and even threats to exit NATO. Now, the West did not resist, it retreated. Enter BRICS: India, Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa. Together, they represent 40% of the global population, a third of global GDP, and growing strategic clout. BRICS isn't just a club anymore, it's a movement, one that challenges the dollar, the IMF, the World Bank, and Western dominance in trade and tech. And yes, the US sees it as a threat, especially Trump, who believes BRICS wants to topple the dollar's supremacy.
They have to pay 10% if they're in BRICS, because BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar as the standard, take it off as the standard.
Take Brazil. Trump slapped 50% tariffs on Brazil, partly in retaliation for a supposed witch hunt against his far-right ally Bolsonaro. But President Lula da Silva was having none of it. He went public with his outrage, said he did not fear Emperor Trump. Let's move on to China. Beijing is simply refusing to play ball with Trump's bullying. After calling out China's high tariffs and threats, Trump of late, of course, has had to soften his stand, extending trade talks, and even a potential fall summit with Xi Jinping is being bandied about now. India, of course, has frustrated Trump, but not as disdainfully as China. But PM Modi is refusing to succumb, publicly calling out Trump's boast on India-Pakistan ceasefire and threats on the trade deal. Even after Trump imposed 15% tariffs, Indian officials clearly said they will keep buying cheap Russian oil as that is in national interest. Let's come to South Africa. That's the country that sponsored the ICC case against Israel, which eventually declared Netanyahu a war criminal. Since then, Trump has been upset with Johannesburg. Add to that Trump's angst over the alleged persecution of white farmers in South Africa, and the country got delivered a 30% tariff blow. But President Ramaphosa is not blinking, instead looking for newer markets in Asia and Africa. And then, of course, there is Russia, the fifth original BRICS founder member. President Putin clearly is not taking Trump seriously. Trump himself has admitted that Putin just seems to be stringing him along as far as ending the Ukraine war is concerned, and that he was disappointed with Putin. What was Vladimir Putin's response? Well, it is too much expectation which brings disappointment, he said, and that too with a straight face. What's happening is that Trump's bluster and bullying is pushing countries away from the US, not towards it. His threats aren't scaring BRICS nations, they are strengthening their resolve. Add to that BRICS de-dollarization push. Trump seems terrified of the possibility of BRICS challenging the global dominance of the US dollar. Small surprise that when the extended BRICS nations held their meeting in Brazil this June, Trump was furious. His rant on Truth Social, it read, any country aligning themselves to the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. He recently called India, growing at 6.4% annually, a dead economy. Why? Because India is buying Russian oil. But every time Trump publicly humiliates allies or mocks global institutions, he makes room for alternative power structures to rise. Globalization is fragmenting. Supply chains are localizing. Multipolarity is here. And BRICS, it's no longer symbolic. It's strategic, it's real, and it's quietly reshaping the architecture of global power.